Hi, this video is to show how to design a Mousetrap car wheel in Tinkercad according to some predetermined specifications. So I'm going to begin by titling my Tinkercad design, and then I'll tab over to these specifications, and let's build the white box rear racer or something similar. So the actual white box rear racer is 40 millimeters in diameter. Let's begin with that wheel. So we're going to create a cylinder that has a maximum number of sides, smooth out those number of sides, and I will begin by making this 40 millimeters. My unit's down here. I can see that I'm working in millimeters according to this grid. 40 by 40 makes a perfect circle. Now, as far as the height of the wheel, it looks as though my wheel width, so this dimension here, the wheel width, should be somewhere between 25, which would be rather wide enough for 2 rubber bands, a very fat wheel, and 8. I'm going to go ahead and make this 10. So my height will be 10 millimeters. Okay, and now I need to punch a hole in the center. Again, I'm going to maximize the number of sides. Now, if my wheel is 40 millimeters wide and I want this to be 2 millimeters thick, we could even experiment with 1.5 millimeters. That would be 40 minus 1.5 is 38.5. Did I get that right? If I want 1.5 on each edge, I want it to be this to be 3 millimeters less. So this will be 37. And I'm going to use the tab button here. Tab should take me between these two. That's just a little shortcut. 37 as well. Okay, I will select both and use L, my align tool here. The shortcut is L. I'm going to use that to line these up. Doesn't matter that this is taller, I'm just punching a hole in that original cylinder. So I will Control A, select all. I could also select just by grabbing both with the box. My shortcut for grouping, here's the button, but my shortcut is Control G. Okay, now if I take a top view and I want to move out of perspective view is going to show me these edges. If I want to look straight down in a parallel projection, I'm going to switch to orthographic or flat view. Okay, I can just use this to sort of test, does it appear based on my grid that I have made this 1.5 millimeters. I would say if each of these boxes is 1 millimeter, there's 1.5. I believe that's come out as planned. Now let's take a look at the this collar here, this centerpiece, which also needs to be designed according to specifications. Especially the axle hole diameter needs to be 3.6 millimeters for a good press fit. When this prints, it's going to print a little smaller than you designed it. So through trial and error, we've discovered that 3.6 makes a good press fit. Likewise, maybe 1.5 millimeters of material here is a good amount of material. And then this collar also has not just a thickness between 3 and 1.5 millimeters, but it also needs to have a depth between 12 and 20. That is the height of this collar. So we'll build the collar the same way we did the initial wheel. I'm going to up the number of sides to a maximum. I could show you a shortcut here by deleting this, an important shortcut. Okay, I know I'm going to make the axle hole 3.6 millimeters. So if I hold down the Alt button, so I'm holding Alt and I drag this piece, I'll make a copy. Hold Alt and drag anything to copy it. I can also use Control C, Control V. Now because this is a copy, I haven't had to adjust the number of sides like I would have starting over new, and I can turn this copy into a hole by switching between solid and hole. I can do this for any shape. I could, if I wanted this wheel to instead be some kind of cutting device, I could change it to a hole. So I'm going to go with 3.6 millimeters. I'm going to use my tab function to quickly get to the other dimension. Okay, and now again, for a 1.5 millimeter thick wall, this needs to be 3 millimeters wider in diameter, so 1.5 to each side. So if this one was 3.6, this will be 6.6. 6.6 tab 6.6. Now I should be able to just grab all three of these items, use my L for align, and center them up. Okay, take a look at a side view here. I want to check this height. Again, my specs say this collar depth can be between 12 and 20. Let's go more closer to the minimum, 12 being the minimum. Now, the last thing, I may not want, in fact, I know that I don't want this hole to go all the way through. The hole depth, axle hole depth, is set at a minimum. You can go all the way through, but the minimum is 7. Let's just go ahead and set that for 7 millimeters. So if I know this is 12 millimeters tall, this collar, then I would set my hole depth 5 millimeters less than that. Okay, there is, okay, I'm changing the height. I guess what I want to do is actually use this black arrow to move the entire piece. So I can move it up 5 millimeters. Okay, but I'm changing my mind. If there is no maximum, the minimum is here. The axle has to be able to protrude into the wheel at least 7 millimeters. That's the specification. But what I'm going to make this so it can go in as far as desired, but given maybe just 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters of space to keep that from going all the way through the wheel. So I think we're good here. I'm just going to select everything, Control G. Okay, and that's how to set the foundation of this wheel to specifications. In later videos, we'll show how to get creative and create some spokes or some kind of objects, shapes, and such to connect the rest of the pieces.